I had the envelope under my plate before my brother even sat down. That is the part I remember first. Not his face, not my mother's hands, not my father's voice doing that proud little lift. It only ever did for him. The envelope was white, plain, cheap, the kind you buy in a pack of 50 and never think about again. Except mine had 3 printed pages inside it that could split a family open at the seams. Not loudly, not dramatically, just cleanly, like taking scissors to fabric that had already been rotting for years. I walked into that restaurant wearing a charcoal sweater, low heels, and my hair pinned back so tightly my scalp ached. I wanted to look calm because calm had always scared my family more than anger. Anger they could label. Anger they could dismiss. Anger meant I was emotional, jealous, bitter, difficult. Calm meant I had brought receipts. The private dining room was in the back, past the bar, past the hostess stand with the little printer coughing out reservation slips. It smelled like steak fat, old carpet, hot bread, and the sharp lemon cleaner they used on the tables, but never quite rinsed away. Rain streaked the window behind the table. The fake fireplace on the wall blinked orange like it was pretending to be warm. My father was already there. Of course he was. He stood up when my brother walked in 10 minutes after me. Not when I walked in. When I walked in, he lifted 2 fingers from his water glass and said, "There she is." There she is, like I had been misplaced behind the coats. When my brother came in, Dad got up so fast his chair legs scraped the floor. He hugged him with both arms, clapped his back, and asked about traffic, work, the parking lot, the weather, all of it. My brother answered like every small inconvenience in his life deserved witnesses. My mother had saved him the good chair. I know how stupid that sounds. The good chair, like a child complaining. But families are built out of little stupid things. The good chair was the one facing the door, with the least wobble, closest to the heater vent, away from the draft. My mother had set her purse on it until he arrived. Then she moved it like she had been guarding a throne. I took the chair near the corner where the table leg pressed into my shin if I shifted wrong. 30 years of good chairs. 30 years of him getting the comfortable spot, the last roll, the bigger steak, the front seat, the benefit of the doubt. 30 years of me being told to let it go because he needed encouragement, because he was sensitive, because he was under pressure, because boys were different, because I was strong, because I could handle it. That was always the sentence they used to steal from me. You can handle it. They said it like a compliment, but it was not a compliment. It was permission. My brother slid into the good chair wearing a navy blazer and that easy expression he had. Perfected by 16, half sheepish, half satisfied, like he knew he had already won, but wanted credit for not bragging too loudly. His wife sat beside him. She was polite, in that tired way spouses become polite when they have learned not to ask too. Many questions about another family's sickness. My mother's older sister sat at the far end of the table, invited because my mother had said, "It is a family decision, and she should be there." A family decision. That was what they were calling it. Not a handoff, not an erasure. Not one final public reminder that my brother was the heir to everything that mattered. A family decision. My mother had a cream-colored folder beside her plate. I noticed it the second I sat down. She kept touching it, covering it with her hand, then moving her hand away. Covering it again. Casual. Too casual. My mother did not do casual well. She did controlled. She did sweet. She did wounded. She did that breathy little laugh that made people think she was harmless. But casual? No. The folder had weight. I could see the paper edges inside it. Several sheets. Maybe signatures needed. Maybe copies. Maybe the house documents they had been hinting about for weeks. My father ordered red wine for the table, even though I did not drink red wine, and he knew that. My brother ordered a steak before the server finished describing the special. My mother smiled at him like appetite was an achievement, and I sat there with the envelope under my plate, smoothing the edge with my thumb where no one could see. Once, then twice, like I could press the truth into behaving. Before I tell you what I said at that table, you need to understand something about my family. They did not hate me. That would have been easier. If they had hated me, I could have packed the whole thing into a clean little box and labeled it abuse or cruelty or neglect and been done with it. But they loved me in the way people love a useful appliance. They were glad I worked, glad I showed up, glad I remembered things, glad I did not make too much noise. I was the daughter who knew where the spare batteries were, the daughter who called the insurance company, the daughter who noticed Dad's cough had changed before anybody else did. I was the daughter who brought soup and fixed the printer and picked up prescriptions and remembered birthdays and washed dishes after holiday dinners. Because my brother was exhausted from driving 40 minutes. 40 minutes. He could survive 4 years of being praised for breathing, but 40 minutes on the highway turned him into a war veteran. And me? I could handle it. There was one thing in my parents' house I wanted, and it embarrasses me how small it was. A blue mug on the second shelf in the kitchen cabinet, left side, behind the taller white ones. It had a chipped handle and a faded lighthouse painted on it. The kind of mug you buy on a road trip and forget the name of the town by the time you get home. I used it when I was 12. That was the year my brother had baseball, then soccer, then some special math club he quit after 3 meetings, but somehow still got praised for trying. My parents were always driving him somewhere, always waiting in parking lots with coffee, always sitting on bleachers, always saying, "Your brother has something tonight." So I did homework at the kitchen counter, alone, a lot, not abandoned. That is too dramatic. I had food. I had a house. I had a key. I had parents who came home and asked if my homework was done. But the kitchen was where I learned the shape of being second. The counter had a little nick near the sink where the laminate lifted. The refrigerator buzzed like it was thinking too hard. The phone cord twisted around itself by the wall. My mother's hairspray drifted in from the hallway before she left for one of my brothers. Banquets, or award nights, or games where he mostly sat on the bench but was still part of the team. I would make instant cocoa in that blue mug and sit there with my worksheets spread out. Under the yellow light. Burnt coffee, lemon dish soap, pencil shavings, rain against the window sometimes. That mug was not valuable. That was why I loved it. Nobody fought over it. Nobody displayed it. Nobody said it belonged to my brother because he had done something impressive. It was just mine because I had used it when nobody was watching. Mine because my fingers fit through the chipped handle. Mine because I had stayed awake with it beside me while the rest of the family orbited him. It was proof, small proof, that I had been there. Years later, when my mother started sorting family keepsakes, I found the mug wrapped in newspaper and packed in a box with my brother's name on it. Not mine, his. I was standing in the kitchen, holding a grocery receipt from the counter because I had stopped by to drop off cold medicine for Dad. My mother was moving around with that busy little energy she got when she wanted to avoid a real conversation. There were boxes on the table, not many, just enough to hurt. Old photos. A baseball glove, Dad's watch from a company anniversary, A framed picture of my brother in a cap and gown, smiling like graduation had been a solo performance. A ceramic dish my grandmother used to keep peppermints in, and the blue mug, wrapped halfway, the lighthouse still showing through a gap in the newspaper. I said, "Why is that in his box?" My mother looked down like she had forgotten what hands were. She said, "What?" I said, "The mug." She said, "Oh, light. Too light. He always liked that one. No, he did not. He had never liked it." My brother liked new things. Heavy glasses, matching sets, gifts with tags still on them. He liked objects more when someone told him they mattered. I said, "That was mine." She smiled without teeth. "Well, honey, you do not really care about things like this." There it was, the little knife, not even hidden. I said, "I used that mug every day when I was a kid." She folded the newspaper tighter around it. Crinkle, crinkle. That ugly, dry sound. "He has kids someday," she said. "He will want pieces of home." Pieces of home. As if I had rented space there. As if my childhood had been a guest room they could clear out once the real family needed storage. I should have said something sharp. I should have taken the mug. I should have unwrapped it, put it in my purse, and let her call me dramatic. But I did not. I stood there with the receipt in my hand and swallowed it, because that was what I did then. I swallowed things until they became part of my body. My mother must have seen something in my face because she softened. For 1 second, she almost became human. She touched the box and said, "I am just trying to keep things simple." Simple. That word did a lot of work in our house. Simple meant my brother got the thing and I got the explanation. Simple meant do not make Dad uncomfortable. Simple meant do not embarrass your mother. Simple meant everyone already knows how this ends, so stop making us say it out loud. I did not know then that the mug was not the insult. It was the warning. Because once they can take the tiny thing without blinking, they have already decided what they will do with the big things. The dinner at the steakhouse was supposed to be nice. That is how my mother framed it when she called. Just a small dinner, she said. Your aunt will be there, your brother and his wife. Your father wants to talk about some plans. I asked, "What plans?" She exhaled like I had asked something rude. Nothing scary. That was another phrase from my childhood. Nothing scary. It usually meant something had already been decided, and my job was to receive it gracefully. I asked, "Are these house plans?" She paused. Not long, but long enough. She said, "Your father just wants to make sure things are organized." Organized. Simple. Taken care of. Families like mine do not say betrayal. They say paperwork. I asked, "Do you need me to bring anything?" She said quickly, "No, just yourself. Just yourself. Not your questions, not your memory, not your spine. Just the version of yourself we can manage." 3 days before that dinner, I found something I was not supposed to understand yet. But I am not going to jump there too fast. Because if I do, it sounds like the DNA results caused everything. They did not. The results only gave a name to the thing that had already been living in our house. Favoritism has a smell after a while. At first, it smells like birthday candles and new wrapping paper. Like your brother getting the bike with gears while you get something practical. Like the good cereal being saved because he likes that kind. Like your father saying, "Let him choose. You are easier." Then it starts smelling like resentment under furniture polish. Like your mother lowering her voice when she talks about money. Like Dad laughing too hard at your brother's jokes because silence would reveal. There is nothing funny there. Like holiday dinners where you bring 2 dishes and your brother brings a bottle of wine. Someone else clearly bought, and he gets praised for thinking ahead. By the time you are grown, favoritism smells like legal folders, cream paper, blue ink, a family decision. At the restaurant, my father waited until the salads came before he started. That was Dad. He needed a prop, a plate, a glass, a reason to look down. He tapped his fork once against the side of the bowl. Not loud, just enough to gather attention without asking for it. "Well," he said, "your mother and I wanted to talk while everyone was together." My brother leaned back. He already knew. I saw it before anyone said another word. His shoulders dropped into the chair like a man settling into a seat saved for him. His wife looked at him, then at my mother, then down at her napkin. My aunt kept buttering a piece of bread slowly, like she had learned in 60-something years that family announcements usually came wrapped in bad manners. Dad looked at my brother first, not at both of us, at him. "We are getting older," he said. My mother made a soft sound, offended by time itself. Dad continued. "And we do not want confusion. With the house. Documents, contacts, emergency things. All of it." I watched his mouth shape the words. House, documents, emergency, all of it. My brother nodded solemnly. Solemn looked ridiculous on him, like a borrowed coat. Dad said, "Your brother has agreed to help manage things going forward." Your brother? Not my son. Not both of you. Your brother. My salad sat in front of me untouched, dressing shining under the low restaurant light. A piece of lettuce had wilted against the cold plate. The server came in with a basket of bread, sensed something sour in the air, and backed out too quickly. My mother opened the cream folder, just a little, enough for me to see printed lines. Signature blocks, paper-clipped sections. My brother said, "It is not a big deal." That was when I looked at him. Really looked. He had steak sauce at the corner of his mouth from the appetizer meatballs he had ordered for. The table and mostly eaten himself. His hand rested near the folder, not on it. He was smart enough not to grab. He never looked greedy in obvious ways. He let other people hand him things, then acted burdened by the weight. "It is just practical," he said. "I am closer to them emotionally with this stuff." Emotionally. I almost laughed. I was the one who knew which pharmacy Dad used. I was the one who knew Mom kept the spare house key under the cracked planter even though I told her not to. I was the one who came when the water heater made that grinding sound and Dad insisted it was fine. My brother called on birthdays and sent thumbs-up emojis in family text threads. But he was closer emotionally because he made them feel successful. That was the difference. I reminded them of what they owed. He reminded them of what they wanted to believe. My father took a sip of wine. "We just think he is in the best position to carry the family forward." There it was. Carry the family forward. A phrase so polished it had no fingerprints. My mother's eyes were already wet. She dabbed them with her napkin before anything had happened. Practice tears. Preloaded. She reached over and squeezed my brother's shoulder. I waited. That is the worst part to admit. Even then, I waited. Some childish piece of me still sat at that kitchen counter with the blue mug, hoping one adult would turn around and say, "And you too. We see you too." I waited for my name. Not a speech, not praise, just one sentence. "Your sister has helped us too. Your daughter should be part of this too. We trust both our children. Anything." My father looked at me then, finally. but only because the silence had become something he needed to manage. "You understand," he said. "Not a question. A command wearing a sweater." My brother reached for his water glass. "Do not worry," he said. "I will make sure you are taken care of." Taken care of. I need you to hear that the way I heard it. Not respected. Not included. Not equal. Taken care of, like a loose wire, like a bill, like a dog they would find a nice yard for. My aunt stopped buttering the bread. My brother's wife looked at him quickly, a tiny flash of something crossing her face. Embarrassment, maybe? Or recognition. Maybe she had heard that tone before in private. My mother said, "He means we all want peace." Peace. Another family word that meant my silence. I looked at the folder, then at my mother's hand resting over the papers. Her wedding ring caught the light. Her nails were pale pink. One cuticle was torn. She kept pressing her thumb against it. She was nervous. Not because they were hurting me. That part had never made her nervous before. She was nervous because some part of her knew this dinner was balanced on a crack. And I had brought a hammer. My father lifted his glass. "To family," he said. My brother lifted his. My mother lifted hers. His wife did, slowly. My aunt did not lift hers right away. She looked at me first. I picked up my water glass because I had learned a long time ago that refusing too early gives people time to prepare. Glasses touched. Tiny, bright sounds. Clink, clink, clink. My brother smiled with his whole face. The king at dinner. The son who would carry things forward. The one they had chosen over and over, until choice became tradition, and tradition became truth. And that was when I understood something with a coldness that almost felt queen. I was not being excluded because I had failed. I was being excluded because the family had built a religion around him. And religions do not survive questions. The envelope under my plate pressed against my fingertips when I shifted. 3 pages. That was all. Not a weapon exactly. A mirror. And mirrors are worse. Because people can argue with a weapon. They can call it cruel. They can call it an attack. A mirror just stands there and shows the shape of the lie. I did not open it yet. Not while Dad was still smiling. Not while my mother still thought the folder was the most dangerous thing on that table. Not while my brother was still enjoying the sound of himself being trusted. Because what I found in the DNA portal 3 nights earlier had made that toast sound less like favoritism and more like a confession. And once I said it, there would be no putting the family back into its old, crooked shape. 3 nights earlier, I was sitting at my own kitchen table with cold coffee and a laptop that had started making a faint ticking sound whenever the fan kicked on. That is how ordinary it was. No lightning, no dramatic music, no feeling in my bones that my life was about to peel open. Just me, a half-dead mug of coffee, a black binder of bills, and the DNA website loading slowly enough to make me think my internet had quit. The test had not even been my idea. It was my brother's. Of course it was. He bought the kits around the holidays because he had seen some video about ancestry, percentages, and decided this would be fun for everyone. That was how he phrased it. Fun. He handed them out like party favors, grinning like he had invented family history. Dad went along with it because my brother had asked. That was usually enough. If I had asked Dad to spit into a tube and mail it to a company, he would have squinted at me over his glasses and asked why I needed to know everything. But my brother turned it into a joke. tapped the little box against Dad's arm, and said, "Come on, old man, let us see what we are made of." Dad laughed. He actually laughed. "Fine," he said. "For you. For you." I heard it, even then. My mother refused. Too fast. That was what I remembered later. She did not say she was uncomfortable with privacy. She did not ask how it worked. She did not make a joke about not wanting to know she was part Viking or whatever my brother was hoping for. She said, "No." One word, flat. Then she smiled too quickly and started clearing plates that did not need clearing. My brother teased her. "Come on, Mom. Do you not want to know?" "I know who I am," she said. At the time, I thought she was being dramatic. My mother liked tiny, dramatic refusals. She liked making people lean toward her. She liked turning ordinary decisions into proof that she had department. So I did not push. I took the kit because refusing would have given my brother a story to tell about me being no fun. Dad took his. My brother took his. My mother stood at the sink with her back to us, rinsing a plate so long the water started steaming. That detail came back to me later. The steam, her shoulders, the way she did not turn around. I want you to remember that, because guilt does not always shake. Sometimes it washes the same clean plate for 3 minutes and calls it helping. When the results finally came in, I forgot about them for most of the day. I had work, groceries, a dull headache behind one eye, a reminder on my phone to renew my car registration. Real life. Stupid life. The kind that keeps moving even when the floor under you is waiting to split. That night, I opened the email after dinner. The subject line was cheerful. "Your results are ready." Cheerful things should not be allowed to carry damage. I clicked the link, typed my password wrong once, typed it again. The page loaded with little colorful circles and maps and percentages that meant almost nothing to me. I skimmed the ancestry part first because that was what I thought I was there for. Region names, estimates, a neat little breakdown of all the places my blood had passed through before becoming me. Then I clicked relatives. I did it lazily, curious but not braced. My brother's profile appeared near the top. Predicted relationship, half-sibling. I stared at it. Not full sibling. Half-sibling. I remember the sound of my refrigerator starting up behind me. That low mechanical hum. I remember the coffee mug sitting beside my laptop, leaving a dark ring on a grocery flyer. I remember the cursor blinking in the search bar like it was waiting for me to become smarter. Half-sibling. At first, I thought I was reading it wrong. People do that when truth is ugly. They suddenly develop faith in technical errors. I clicked his profile. Shared DNA. Numbers. Centimorgans. Segments. Words I had seen before but never needed. I opened a new tab and searched what the range meant. Then another. Then another. I read slowly because panic makes you stupid, and I refuse to be stupid. Maybe the site was mistaken. Maybe siblings sometimes fell low. Maybe there were exceptions. Maybe. That word is where people go to hide from math. I pulled up Dad's account because he had asked me to help him set the password when he got annoyed during registration. He had said, "Just make it something I will remember," and then immediately forgot it, because remembering things was apparently my department. Dad's results were there. His match to me was obvious. Parent-child. Clear. No question. I clicked his relatives. Names. I recognized floated up in the list. A cousin from his side. A surname from his mother's family. A man with Dad's uncle's smile in the profile photo. Pieces of the old family tree. boring and steady and awful in their steadiness. Then I went back to my brother's account. I looked for those same names. Nothing. Not buried lower, not misspelled, not weak. Nothing. No paternal side cousins. No familiar surnames. No shared matches tying him to Dad's blood. I sat there with my hands flat on the table. For a few seconds, I did not feel triumphant. I did not feel angry. I felt cold, because the first thought was, not. He is not Dad's son. The first thought was, did Dad know? And the second thought was worse. Did Mom? The report said something I still cannot forget because it was so clean, so bloodless. Predicted relationship. Half-sibling? 2 words. And a family rearranged itself around them. Half-sibling, like the website had reached into my childhood and put a label on the bruise. I did not sleep much that night. I did not call anyone. I did not text my brother some dramatic screenshot. I did not wake my father up. I did not drive to my parents' house with the laptop open like some idiot in a movie. No. I made coffee at midnight, even though my hands were already shaking. Then I started checking. That was the part no one in my family ever expected from me. They thought quiet meant passive. They had mistaken my restraint for weakness for so long that they forgot. Restraint is also how you aim. I printed the relationship page first, then the match list from Dad's account, then mine, then my brother's. The printer made that dry, grinding sound it always made before pulling each sheet through. Page by page, slow, uneven, like it also understood this was not paperwork. This was bone. I wrote the date on the back of each page. Not because I knew exactly what I was doing yet, because I knew enough. I saved screenshots in a folder on my laptop. I downloaded what the site would let me download. I made copies of the key pages and put them in the black binder where I kept tax papers, warranty receipts, and all the boring adult documents. No one respects until everything catches fire. Then I sat at the table until the sky outside went gray. At one point, I opened my brother's social media profile and looked at a photo of him with Dad at a backyard barbecue. Dad's hand on his shoulder, my brother holding a beer, both of them smiling. I closed it. Not because I felt sorry for him, because for 1 second, I felt sorry for Dad. That surprised me. It made me angry that I could still feel it. Dad had favored him. Dad had handed him the warmest parts of the family for 3 decades. Dad had looked past me so many times that I had learned to stop waving. But if he did not know, then he had been used too. If he did know, then he had helped build the lie. Both options were ugly. One made him a fool. The other made him a coward. I needed to know which one I was dealing with. So I waited. The next day, I called the testing company. I kept my voice boring, polite, the kind of voice people use when asking about shipping delays. I asked about predicted relationships. I asked how often a full sibling could appear as a half-sibling. I asked what shared matches meant. The woman on the phone could not tell me. Family secrets, obviously. She could not interpret my life. She could not climb through the phone and say, "Yes, your mother lied," and "Yes, your brother has been sitting on a throne made of somebody else's silence." But she could explain ranges. She could explain that close family results were not random guesses. She could tell me that parent-child matching was distinct, that half-sibling predictions were based on shared DNA amounts, and that shared matches could support family line connections. I wrote it down. Not every word. Enough. After I hung up, I sat in my car in the parking lot outside the grocery store because I had forgotten to buy milk. and could not make myself go inside. The windshield was dotted with rain. People pushed carts past me with paper towels and cereal and flowers wrapped in plastic. Their lives looked disgusting in their normalness. I wanted to scream. I did not. I went inside and bought milk. That is what nobody tells you about family collapse. You still need milk. The following day, I tested Dad without letting him know I was testing him, not with another kit, with questions. I stopped by my parents' house because my mother had asked me to bring over a bottle of the vitamins Dad liked. My brother was not there. Good. The house had that late afternoon smell it always got in winter. Coffee burned down to sludge, dust warming near the vents, lemon cleaner over something old. Dad was in his recliner with the television on too loud. I handed him the bottle and said, "Did you ever look at your DNA relatives?" He made a face. "No. Too many buttons." I smiled. "Any weird surprises?" He shrugged. "Just that. Your brother keeps telling me I am less interesting than he is." He laughed at his own joke. It was not proof, but his face did not flicker. No fear, no warning, no performance. Dad was not a great liar. He could manage small things. Where he put a bill, whether he had eaten the last cookie. It could not hide big emotion. It leaked out of him around the eyes. When I asked about the DNA results, his eyes stayed ordinary. Tired, confused, trusting. That almost made me hate my mother more. She came in while we were talking and stopped near the doorway. "What?" "DNA results." Dad waved a hand. "That ancestry thing?" Her eyes moved to me. Just once, sharp enough to cut thread. I looked back at her and said nothing. She carried laundry down the hallway, even though the basket was empty. That was when I knew. Not legally, not scientifically, not in a way I could print and highlight, but in the way daughters know the weather in their own kitchens. My mother knew there was a question. Maybe she had known for 30 years. Maybe she had buried it so deep she called it gone. Maybe she had convinced herself blood did not matter until blood threatened her favorite story. But she knew enough to be afraid. And afraid people reach for control. 2 days later, the dinner invitation came. "Your father wants to talk about plans." Sure. Plans. I spent that afternoon building the file. No confrontation, no threats, no messy text that my brother could screenshot and wave around later. I had learned from my family. If you want power in that house, you do not ask for fairness. You bring something they cannot fold into your personality defects. Paper, dates, copies. I printed a clean set of the DNA relationship page, showing my brother as a half-sibling. I printed the page showing Dad as my parent. I printed the match comparisons that showed Dad's relatives linked to me, not to my brother. I put sticky notes on the margins, not dramatic ones. Plain. Simple. Predicted relationship. Shared paternal matches. No shared paternal side matches shown. I did not write. Mom lied. I did not write. 30 years. I did not write. I hope this hurts. Tempting. Stupid. I needed the pages to speak before I did. Then I took one more step because I refused to let my family turn this into me. Misunderstanding. A website. I booked a short consultation with someone qualified to interpret the results. Not a hero. Not a savior. Just a professional voice outside the family fog. I paid for it myself, which made me furious in that quiet adult way where anger looks like entering card numbers on a billing page. The consultation was practical. No drama. I sent the reports ahead. We reviewed the relationship categories, the shared DNA range, the parent-child match with Dad, the absence of his side in my brother's visible matches. I asked the same question in 3 different ways because I needed the answer to hold. Could this be a normal full sibling result? Could my brother still be Dad's biological child? Could there be some ordinary explanation I was missing? The answers were careful. Professionals use careful words, but careful is not the same as unclear. By the end, I had a short written summary confirming that the results were consistent with my brother and me sharing one biological parent. And that, Dad matched me as a biological parent. It did not accuse anyone. It did not name a scandal. It did not need to. I printed that too. That page was the quietest one. It was also the sharpest. If you are still listening, this is where it turns. Because the DNA did not just show my brother was not Dad's biological son. It showed how much of my life had been organized around a lie nobody trusted me enough to tell. I looked at the pages spread across my kitchen table. White paper, black ink, a paper clip, a cheap envelope. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother. "Do not be late tomorrow. Mom is stressed." I stared at it. Mom is stressed. Not Dad. Not me. Mom. Even then, even walking into a dinner where they planned to hand him more control, he saw himself as the emotional manager of the room. The protector. The important one. The son whose presence stabilized everyone. I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Then I wrote, "See you there." That was it. 2 words. Clean hands. I packed the pages in order. First, the sibling prediction. Second, Dad's parent-child match to me. Third, the shared match comparison. Fourth, the summary. Then I took out the 4th page. Too much. People under pressure grab for complexity. I knew my family. My mother would seize on one word she did not understand and try to drown the table in confusion. My brother would say, "This is ridiculous," and point at anything that looked technical. So I made it simple. 3 pages. The relationship, the father match, the outside interpretation. Enough. I slid them into the envelope and wrote nothing on the outside. No name, no warning. At the restaurant, I wanted the truth to arrive looking harmless. Before I left my apartment for dinner, I stood in front of the small mirror by my door and looked at myself for longer than I usually could. Not because I felt beautiful, because I wanted to recognize the woman who was going to walk in there. There were faint shadows under my eyes. My sweater had lint near one sleeve. My mouth looked too flat. I thought about calling Dad. I did. That is the part I have never liked admitting. I thought about warning him privately, pulling him aside, giving him one chance to hear it without my brother there, without my aunt, without the wife, without the server pretending not to hear near the water pitcher. It would have been kinder. Maybe. Or maybe it would have given my mother time to turn it. That was what stopped me. I could already hear her. She is upset. She misunderstood. She has always been jealous of her brother. She is trying to ruin your relationship with him. She would not even have to prove it. She would only have to place the old label on my forehead and trust everyone to read it. Jealous? Difficult? Emotional? My whole life, they had kept those words polished and ready. So no. No private warning. No soft entry. No family meeting where I arrived alone and they surrounded me with concern. Until concern became a muzzle. The blade had to be public. Not cruelly public, not a circus, but witnessed. There is a difference. A private truth in my family would have been buried by mourning. A witnessed truth would leave marks. I put the envelope in my purse. Then I turned off my kitchen light, locked my apartment door, and drove through the rain to the restaurant where my parents thought they were going to finalize one more version of my disappearance. On the way there, my phone buzzed again at a stoplight. My mother. Please be nice tonight, I laughed once. Not because it was funny, because it was perfect. Please be nice. Not be honest, not be heard, not be ready. Nice. Nice is what people ask from you when they know fairness would cost them too much. I did not answer. The light changed. I drove. By the time I reached the restaurant, I had already rehearsed what I would not do. I would not cry first. I would not accuse without proof. I would not let my brother bait me into sounding unstable. I would not let my mother rename the facts as drama. I would not talk over the paper. I would let them reveal themselves. That was the plan. Let them open the folder. Let Dad say the words. Let my brother accept the crown. Let my mother sit there with her hands on the lie. Then I would place the pages beside it. Not throw them, not slap them.